Katoptris is the knife Piper McLean uses in her adventures in the Heroes of Olympus and the Trials of Apollo. Though often an overlooked weapon in the series, it has a fairly important role in the books. In this video, I'll be talking about Katoptris, its origins, and how it was used throughout the series. As always, there will be spoilers, so warning on that, and with that, let's get started. Katoptris is a name that means looking glass or mirror in ancient Greek. It's a Parazonian blade and was carried by high-ranking officials in Greek armies. It is sheathed in worn black leather, and the hilt is made of polished wood with an 18-inch triangular blade of celestial bronze. Celestial bronze is the material used to kill monsters, demigods, gods, and anything supernatural, which makes it handy as a weapon. The knife originally belonged to the demigod daughter of Zeus named Helen of Troy, who is most known for the Trojan War. So let's give a bit of background on who Helen is. Helen was known in Greek mythology as the most beautiful woman in the universe, and she was the wife of Menelaus. Long story short, the Trojan War started because of a beauty contest between Hera, Athena, and Aphrodite, who wanted the title as the most beautiful goddess. Zeus couldn't judge without upsetting anybody, so he asked this mortal man named Paris to do it for him. Paris was given different offers from each goddess in exchange for the title, but the one that really sold it for Paris was Aphrodite's offer. Aphrodite promised him that he would get the most beautiful woman, aka Helen, and Paris agreed. Aphrodite was declared the most beautiful, and she helped Paris kidnap Helen from Sparta. And from there, Menelaus got mad and declared everyone to find Helen, and thus the Trojan War started. With all this chaos, Helen kept one item with her, and that was a looking glass knife named Katoptris. She got this as a wedding gift from Menelaus, and Helen would use this knife as a mirror and not really as a weapon. That's all we got about Katoptris from Helen, but somehow it managed to make its way to Camp Half-Blood because that's the next place we see it. When a demigod daughter of Aphrodite named Piper McLean arrives in Camp Half-Blood, Annabeth Chase shows Piper around and brings Piper to the armory to get a weapon. Piper picks Katoptris, and Annabeth tells her the knife's history and how it was never really used in battle as Helen of Troy didn't use it as a weapon. From this moment, Piper became the owner of the knife. She used this during her quest in The Lost Hero to rescue Hera with Jason and Leo. When she checked on Katoptris, Piper realized that the knife wasn't just a mirror to see her reflection, but it also gave you glimpses of visions. Piper used this to see the giant Enceladus who kidnapped Piper's dad Tristan McLean, and from there, Piper used this knife to fight monsters like Earthborns in the Battle of the Wolf House. Piper also used Katoptris in the Mark of Athena. She uses it to see into the future and get advice as to what to do. Piper sees a place called Topeka 32, which became the place where she, Percy Jackson, and Jason Grace would meet the Roman god of wine Bacchus in the same book. She also saw Jason on his horse Tempest, and the fight he had with Percy, which happened after they met Bacchus. Piper also sees a vision of her mother Aphrodite, and this teases what happens later when Piper, Hazel, and Annabeth meet Aphrodite. Piper then sees the river god Achelous, whom Piper and Jason would meet later on to get the cornucopia for Hercules. She also sees a disturbing image of her, Percy, and Jason drowning in black water, which actually happened in the later events of the book when nymphs tried to drown them when they were trying to find Nico the Angelo. The last image Piper sees is the Romans from Camp Jupiter planning an attack against Camp Half-Blood after thinking that the Greeks and the Seven were their enemies. With all of these visions, Piper was distressed and she actually gave the knife to Coach Hedge for a while. Hedge then used it to watch future baseball scores, and he kept an eye on the ship with the knife. Not that much is known of Piper's knife in the House of Hades, but something interesting happens to it in the Blood of Olympus. By the end of this book, Piper looks at the knife and realizes that it doesn't have any more visions, which makes her place it in a chest at Camp Half-Blood. It's not known why it stopped giving glimpses of the future, but it could be because of the issue that was happening with the Oracle of Delphi in this part of the timeline. The Oracle of Delphi is a source of prophecies, and it was always controlled by the god of prophecies, Apollo. However, before the events of the Trials of Apollo, Apollo lost control over Delphi because of Python taking over it. Then again though, when Python was defeated by Apollo in the Tower of Nero, this could have brought Katoptris' vision powers back, but it's left unconfirmed. We barely see Piper in the Trials of Apollo, but we do see her in the Burning Maze when Apollo, Meg, and Grover go to her place for help. Piper brought Katoptris with her for the quest, and she used it when she fought Medea. She attacked one of Medea's golden dragons with Katoptris, which caused Medea's carriage to steer away. Once Medea got face to face with Piper, Medea tells Piper that the knife was just pretty, but not something useful. Piper got her revenge after this though, by stabbing Medea from behind and killing Medea. This act was the last time we ever saw Katoptris, but as far as we know, Piper still keeps it safely with her. And that's all we know about Katoptris so far. Though often overlooked, this knife played a significant role in the adventures of Piper throughout the Heroes of Olympus and the Trials of Apollo. Originally a gift to Helen of Troy, this knife served not just as a weapon, but as a mirror that provided prophetic visions, which helped Piper multiple times throughout the series. From battling monsters to foreseeing events, Katoptris proved to be a powerful weapon that Piper would always rely on. So how about you? What do you think about Katoptris? Let me know in the comments down below.